Of course, everyone dreams of a wonderful future, but your wonderful future can't come to life if you don't plan for it. You plan for your children's educations, you plan for their weddings, you plan for vacations, saving for a rainy day.
Yeah, but there is one enormous and inevitable life event that most of us don't like to plan for. Obviously, it happens to everybody. It's this death and taxes. That's what they say, the two realities of life. Death
Pay
and
taxes with $1 bills.
That's right.
Death you can't pay.
7,000 of them.
Exactly.
Anyway, but it's important to make sure that your family is taken care of, and that means you want to take care of them by having a plan. So joining us today is our Lady of the Law, Kast. Andrea, you're here to talk with us about this. It is a sensitive and touchy topic, and nobody really wants to talk about it, but it's one of those things that you need to do, and once you do it, you're done, and you can kind of forget about it.
Right. And nobody really likes to think about death, especially they're on. No one likes to think that they're going to die one day, but the reality is nobody's going to cheat death. And so you need to plan for that, not for yourself so much, but for your loved ones. You want to make it easier on them. I mean, you've heard the stories, you know, people fight at funerals over, you know, people's assets. You know, there's all kinds of craziness that goes on once people die. So you want to avoid that for your loved ones. You want to avoid the tears and the heartache, and you want to make things easier for the people you love. If you have children, if you have a bank account, if you have a house or a car, you really need a will. And so you want to make sure that your children and your assets are protected and go to the people you want them to go to.
Is a will more than just a piece of paper that basically says, this is where I want my things to go once I pass away?
Well, it is a piece of paper that says this is where I want my things to go once I pass away, but it says to who you want them to go to. And there are requirements in Florida. You know, wills have to be executed in a certain way. You have to have witnesses to the will. They have to be notarized. You have to have an executor of a will. So you really need someone who knows what those requirements are to sit down with you and walk you through the process and make sure that your will is valid. Because if your will is not valid, once you die, it's like it never existed in the to begin with.
Yeah,
so you want to make sure that you have that valid will so that your wishes are enforced after you die.
So you can't just write it out yourself and say, okay, tuck it in a drawer and say, when I die, here, read this.
Even get something notarized on your own. I mean, still, the most important thing is the interpretation of the words that are on there, because if you're interpreting what you wrote one way, but
somebody else,
you know, attorneys and legal experts are interpreting it another way, you just need to make sure that your wishes, what you really want, are going to be executed.
And if your wills, even if you have what you think is a valid will is determined to be invalid, your estate goes through probate, and you're considered to die intestate. You know, in our office, we kind of use the term, we remember what intestate means by, we say it means you're in trouble, because it means you died without a will, and it means the state gets to determine what happens to your things. And, you know, in Florida, there are rules and statutes that say if you are married and you die, everything goes to your spouse, regardless of if your spouse are also the parents of your children. So you could have remarried along the way, and your children get nothing. So you want to make sure, you know, you think your spouse might take care of your children, you know, but that's not always the case. You know, your child may want simply just, you know, your wedding ring at some point, and, you know, the stepmom might say, hey, no, I want it. It may not be a financial thing, but it could be sentimental, and you might want your daughter to have it or your son to have it, and tears shed over that could be really, you know, very, very detrimental to your child once you're gone. So it could be, you know, you may want a will for a sentimental reason like that.
Do you need anything other than a will, or is a will suffice?
You need, in addition to a will, you really need a living will to determine what happens to you if you become in a vegetative state, you know, to make, you know, the medical decisions for yourself before you get to a point where you can't do that. You need a healthcare surrogate, maybe someone to go in and make those decisions for you, like a spouse or a child, so that if you get into a situation where you don't have any living will set in place, that you have someone at least to make those decisions for you. You know, you have someone who will be strong enough to, you know, carry out your wishes. And you also, you know, need a durable power of attorney, someone who could handle your finances if you get into a position where you can't do that for yourself. And in our office, we kind of do a one-stop shop. So if you come in for a will, we will do all these things for you in one package for you. We have a questionnaire. You come in, you sit down, you'll fill all out. You know, you can take it home and fill it out if you need to and come back, but we'll walk you through the whole process. We'll get all these forms filled out to you. It's kind of like a one-price-fits-all for these things. And, you know, we charge basically for a simple will $500, and for individual, and $700 for a couple, and you get all these items.
And those will last the test of time.
Right.
So it's once you do it, do you find that people get it done and then they have some breath of fresh air after that?
Yes.
You don't have to worry about it or think about it
Yes.
again?
Once you get it done.
Unless you really don't like one of your kids and then you want to go back in and change it.
Right. Or you win the lottery.
Or yeah, something
and
like
you have
that.
a lot more things to give away.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a substantial change in circumstance or financial being, or you get more assets and you want to change it at some point. But once you get it done, that will stand the test of time, and you can go about the business of living again. You don't have to think about death again, because you know you're taken care of, and you've taken care of your family, you've taken care of your loved ones, and they don't have to worry about, your death either.
So for anybody that's at home, maybe they're watching right now and they're thinking, I don't have a lot of things. I don't own my own home. I don't have a lot of things. Is this important for them to do as well? The living will obviously is something that you want to make sure you take care of.
If you have kids, you definitely want to. You want to make sure your kids are taken care of. I mean, just to name a guardian for your children. I mean, if something happens to you, something happens to their other parent, you want to name a guardian for your children, you need a will for that. And I mean, that's very important, especially for minor children in the state of Florida. So, to carry out who you want to take care of your children is very, very important.
All right. Well, Andrea Kast, thank you so much again
Always
for
good
being
to
here.
see
We
you.
appreciate that, and we want to thank Emery, Kast, and Walker, of course, for sponsoring this segment. Yep.
Still to come.
And remember, they always
we got
say
more?
that the biggest financial mistake that you can make is to do nothing.
The legal team of Emery, Kast, Walker understands what you're going through, and they're there to help good people in bad times. Just visit their website at www.jackslawyer.com or call them at 904-404-3394 for a free consultation to find solutions to your problems. They have offices right here in Jacksonville and in St. Augustine.